First of all, as you may have presumed, rounds are off to a record start in 2023. Whether that's good or bad, it's been a warm and very dry Q1 and kind of beginning of Q2. So believe it or not, in Massachusetts, we've played almost 14,000 rounds of golf through May, which is unheard of and phenomenal result. The leagues are back as strong as they've ever been. Tournaments have begun. We've got several outings on the books. We've got the PGA Junior League, which is sponsored by the PGA of America, which is advertised by them, and they put some marketing dollars behind it. So we are a location that hosts PGA Junior League, and we're working on a PGA Junior League and a separate junior program that we're going to roll out for midsummer. So we're excited about that. And then probably what a lot of the golfers have been looking for is new golf carts. Because if you're a golfer, you've been out there, you realize the golf carts are in pretty sad shape. We finally were able to purchase lithium golf carts, which is kind of think of a mini Tesla model. They're super powerful. They last a long time. They charge in a very quick amount of time. Good for the environment, and the existing infrastructure was able to accomplish that. So we're excited about getting those. Those are supply chain was an issue. We actually ordered those carts a year ago, and they should be delivered in the next 30 days. So we're excited about that. As some of you may have heard, we did do a rate increase that was nominal. What we tried to do was increase the rate. The vast majority of the rate increase was on the non-resident side to help support the resident and not be as impactful to them. Part of what we're seeing, and I'm sure you're seeing it in your own lives and everywhere else, is just that rising cost of labor and minimum wage pressure, as well as what are large expenses for us, which are like chemical and fertilizers, a lot of which come from overseas, have just skyrocketed. So these are nominal rate increases that will keep us basically in the game. And what the vast majority of golf courses have done since COVID is, because of the demand that we're seeing, and you could see it with the rounds that I spoke about earlier, are really increasing their rates just to stay flat, right? Just to stay even. So
what percentage are you going up on the rates?
So Chris, I'll let you speak to that, but I want to say on the resident side, it was like $1 or maybe $2 at the most, and then on the non-resident up to $4 or $5.
Yeah, so the resident rates were increased by $1. Non-resident rates were increased anywhere from $4 to $6 between weekday and weekend rates, and then we increased our cart rates by $1 for a 9-hole cart and $2 for an 18-hole cart.
Well, hey, Chris, did you say you went up $4 on residents?
Non-resident.
Oh, non-residents. Okay.
Only $1 on residents.
Yeah. What is it? What was it? What's the percentage? That seems pretty high.
It's about an 8 to 10% increase on non-resident rates.
Yeah. And what is that? How's our numbers compare with, let's say, other municipal golf courses in the area?
I mean, we're a little bit higher than some courses, but we're also lower than a decent amount of courses as well. We're right in the ball game, right where we are now. We hadn't increased our rates since 2019, really, pre-COVID. So it was time.
Yeah, you really we had a little bit of a catch up, but to Chris's point, every other golf course in the market really has been increasing their rates annually, and Old Scotland had kept their rates flat for a long period of time while we saw expenses rise. So this is just a small increase that is really just meant to keep our bottom line flat.
Yeah, no, well, if you go back to 2020, 21, and part of 22, we're during COVID. There wasn't anyone going up on their rates because no one was really pumping those volumes out as much. So I'm just curious to see how our rate goes with other municipal
Yeah.
golf courses.
Yeah,
I wanna
it-
say-
Yep, very competitive. We're very competitive in the market. We constantly do market analysis with the nearby courses to make sure that we're in line with what other daily fee public golf courses are charging. And you can see by the volume that the demand is surging, and it's time, just so that we can accomplish the task that the golf course is going to need from a financial commitment perspective.
Now, who owns the carts, the golf carts?
So they're a straight lease, so they'll be returned at the end of their lease, but that is a Indigo lease.
I see. And what happens, did you get credit for the old ones that we owned before?
Yeah, so you owned for rough math, you owned 40 and leased 40. The 40 that were owned were aging to the point where they were lead acid. So think about your car battery. They had 6 of those in there.
So we didn't get any money for those.
We got some trade-in value that we netted down the current lease with. And then the other 40 were just on an actual lease that were just returned. And we negotiated to return those a year early without penalty.
So we have
Uh,
80 brand new carts coming in now?
I think we might have been slightly less than that. Chris, did we get 80 or did we get
75.
75?
That's great, because that was a big problem the last month or so with carts breaking down.
It's still an issue, but we've negotiated with the vendor Club Car to basically keep us going until our cars arrive. So they've been out there weekly all winter because we didn't have much of a winter, as I'm sure you've noticed. And so they've been repairing them just to keep them operational. But essentially all 80 of those carts were toast. So they're all going back. Brand new fleet is coming in, and then every 5 to 6 years we'll flip over. What we're finding with lithium cars, because it's a fairly new technology, is that the battery will last well beyond I'll call it the useful life of the physical. So the damage and just the wear and tear that public golf puts on a golf cart will likely have to flip out. But we won't run into those scenarios where we're in the end of our lease or nearing the end of our lease term and the batteries are actually failing. These batteries are going to last longer than the cart itself, which is a good problem to have. So we're excited to get those in.
Have you thought about any of the path obstacles that are out there that are ruining the carts?
Yeah,
Like
we're
the
in,
front ends on the carts and stuff like that, because
we're in
Charlie-
talks with them.
Charlie Simons had started paving, and
Yeah.
then I think that we ran out of money, and that certainly will add to the longevity of the carts as well.
You're 100% correct. And really with that, we don't have an unlimited budget, but the golf cart paths themselves have been identified to try to get as much care and repair for especially the parts of them that really need it. So it really needs to become more of a formalized plan where we address sections of cart path. There's roughly six plus miles of cart path if you think about it around the golf course. So we're just tackling it as it comes, but we're going to address the worst sections first and try to get all the way around to where we're in a little bit of a better plan where there's consistent money annually put to those cart paths to keep them in good shape.
Do the carts have the GPS on them?
No.
They don't. The
No,
distance-
but we do have the ability for a very small fee. And Chris, I'm not sure if we have the app yet at Old Scotland, but we do have the ability
do.
to provide. Yeah, so you can get your GPS on your phone for free
Yeah,
by downloading the Old Scotland Links app, which frankly is better because you can take it to your ball. So when we're on cart path only days, or your partner's over in the woods and you're in the fairway, you guys can both use your cell phones and dial in that yardage without wasting, pace of play.
Yep. Okay.
How do you think, things are going for you?
Fantastic. I mean, I hate to, it's hard to say that COVID was a benefit, but I'll say it. I mean, in this sense, an outdoor, naturally distanced sport, that's away from your office, your computer, your cell phone. People are really enjoying that aspect of the game. So, we're seeing a tremendous amount of new entry, points into the game. Women are up substantially. 20% of the new golfers in the game are now women, since COVID, compared to 2% of men. So minorities are entering the game. People are seeing it as an outlet that's relatively affordable. And I think some of the stigma around golf was it's an expensive sport, for upper class, and that's really not true. And I think Old Scotland Links is proving that out. So yeah, the performance has been tremendous, and that's not all us. We like to take credit for it when we can, because we'll take the blame when the weather's bad. But the weather's been great over the past few years, and COVID certainly has given us a shot in the arm that golf needed.
I've taken a lot of criticism, or people have mentioned to me that they're disappointed that there isn't a cooler on every third or fourth hole. I played extensively in Florida this past winter, and all the coolers are on every golf course down there. And I would like to see the coolers at least be every third hole or something like that, because to go in and get a couple bottles of water, it costs you $10.
Yeah, so we're gonna work on that with the town. So part of the concern, and it's on my slide here if you're on the computer. but
Yeah.
Drinking water's always been problematic for a golf course because we can't fully control the contamination of those coolers. Somebody can break in there. The nozzles can get contaminated. Even pre-COVID, they're a challenge when there are hundreds of people accessing that same water spout, and they can run out, right? Somebody can decide to water their towel to keep their clubs clean or their balls clean. And if we don't have water, and we said we were going to have water, it's a little more complicated than you think. Well, more than the average number of golf courses have completely abandoned water on the golf course because people have their own coolers, their own Yeti coolers. They bring their own water. We definitely tell them before that, there's signage posted that there's not water on the course. But I fully appreciate your concern. It's something where we need to understand if we can tap into the actual city water and provide watering stations. And then it's just simply at your own risk if you want to.
No, that won't work out. There's no water out there. You have to put water lines out there. It won't
Yeah.
work.
No,
Well, I'm thinking about even at the clubhouse, just putting, whether it's the water that you see in a gym sometimes now where you can fill up your water bottle, or even just a water station where, you return.
Where is the
down-
water coming from now? Is a well at the clubhouse? How do you
Chris,
deal with contamination of the clubhouse with washing dishes? Is
Well, I'm
it
not.
water
yeah,
that's
I'm not
washing
referring to-
dishes?
I'm not referring to that kind of contamination. I'm referring to water cooler, the nozzle itself, where the water's coming out of the
And
cooler.
people touching it. Yeah.
we had that golf.
Yeah.
I was very involved in building the golf course. We've had that. We had water out there for how many years has the course been there? 20. We always had water. We've never had with it. I just think, and I do fully understand contamination. There's always the possibility. They were changing them, on hot days, they were changing them hourly because we'd go through so much water. So it's very labor intensive, but you got to get water out there. There's no excuse not having water. Some way, I don't know if you gotta bring bottles, but you gotta do something about getting some water out there, especially in August when
How
it's
do,
heat is just smoking hot. I don't know, look at every office building has bottles of water, those big 5-gallon bottles, and people are touching them. Yeah, I don't know, but I think you got to get some water out there. It's
Yeah,
just not fair to the clients.
how do other courses do it that have the water? And I was
So-
just out at Blackstone the other day and sat and they didn't have any water out there.
Yeah, most
I
courses
know
don't.
other courses around here.
Most
Okay.
courses don't. I mean, it's really becoming something of the past. I mean, in a general sense, your walking trails, your rail trails, your outdoor parks, that water is something that people are expected to bring. If we could easily provide it safely, we will. It's just during COVID, it was off the table. It was even part of certain legislation, but now that we're post-pandemic, it's a conversation that we're having with the town officials to determine what type of capital expense, whether that's, the old water stations that you're used to, or water fountains somehow tapped into the public infrastructure, or something that exists at the clubhouse. But the typical golfer understands, or we're trying to get them to understand, that they need to hydrate out there, and we're hoping that they either buy it or bring it themselves. And we certainly don't detract from someone bringing their own. But that's really, we're right in the shift right now between we couldn't do it, and now maybe we can, but there's some risks with it. And part of the risk for the town is if somebody gets sick, that's a problem, right? And that can be as expensive as any sort of putting water on the golf course. So it's just a piece we're working through with the insurance companies and with the technology that we have to try to get. So point is taken. We've heard it. I've also heard it from the town, and we're working through some conversations with them to see what the next steps would be.
Hey, Ryan, my question is, the town's letting you put, not the town, Barrett's are gonna let you put coolers on the carts? So somebody could take their own cooler and put it on the cart? That's what you
No.
just,
No,
Okay, that's
no. If you bring a cooler and we determine that it only has water because you need to stay hydrated, we would allow that on the golf course. There is no intention to have, coolers on the carts.
okay, I misunderstood you. I thought you said they could
Yeah,
bring
no,
cooler.
yeah.
Rules suppress.
So we're doing what we can. The point is heard. We're not trying to do the wrong thing. It's just a challenge right now with some of, unfortunately, just with the way laws are work, and some of the exposure for having just unattended open coolers, that anybody can do anything with. I mean, they're locked, but it's still just a wood container with a cooler in it. You could almost do anything you want to that water source. So let us
Ryan,
yeah.
here's the thought. Yeah, just a thought. I like the idea of those water, I'm sure there's a proper term for them, but the water filling stations. I think those are great. And people have to go into the clubhouse to pay or to check in. So if it could be in a convenient place with a sign that says no water on the course. And
We have that.
they're cheap things, maybe just have like giveaways, a bunch of water coolers to prompt people to bring their own water, refill it the next time they come back. Those things are relatively cheap.
No, we agree.
Just a
And so-
thought.
Yep, no, that's fair, and those are being talked about. We definitely do let people know there's no water on the course. Frankly, a lot of public golfers expect that, because that's way more in the majority of public courses do not have water on the course anymore. But we still want to make sure everybody's aware, so we're letting them know. And we'll work with the
Mhm.
town.
And I think a lot of people, right, I think a lot of people are just so used to taking a water bottle with them. I mean, I take it to exercise, I take it golfing,
Yeah,
it's just habit now.
yeah. No, that's right, but in a perfect world, we can get it to them, so we're gonna try to fix it. But we're just not there yet, but we identified as a concern, not only of this committee, but just golfers as a whole. And just moving forward into course improvements, I'm gonna let Chris talk about some of the things we've done to the golf course, and then I'm gonna let Steve finish up with some of the really impressive comments we've been getting about the facility, because we're I think the average golfer is really finding Old Scotland Links to be in great shape right now.
Okay, yeah, so if everyone sees the course improvements slide up there, on Tuesday the 30th and Wednesday, May 31st, we aerated greens and tees. The greens are a biannual thing. They're done in May and September. We did switch it up and do a solid tine aeration this time, so we did not pull any cores. So like Tom, Mike, you guys have been out there playing in the league. You saw it's a little different. It's going to help with the recovery. It'll be quicker. Typically, it can be anywhere 10, 14, 21 days recovery, but this method, especially with the rain that we've just gotten, 7 to 10 days, the green should be rolling pretty well. And as far as the tee boxes are concerned, from all the winter play we get, the tees just get beat up because we keep them open. So that was a necessary thing that we haven't done in at least 5 or 6 years. So it was time for that to be done. A company came in and did that in short order. So those are all set. The 2 pictures that are on there, we got approved by the Conservation Commission to do some work on hole number 16 and number 8. Both of those greens have been troublesome, especially number 16, because it doesn't get enough sunlight to keep both greens healthy, especially hole 16. That's why we have to close it during the winter time. And being such a short hole, it just takes a beating during the year. But on hole number 16, as you can see from the picture, you can actually see down hole number 17 now where you couldn't before. We had 4 large pines taken out of there. And now the health of that green will be, a lot better than it has been, because it's going to get some more direct sunlight now. And then number 8, we only took out 1 big tree, but we did trim back some of the other smaller trees there. So that'll definitely help as well. Par 3s in general, the green, being such short shots, they get some abuse during the year, but those 2 were the worst of the 4 that we have, and this should definitely help going forward. We did order a new top dresser. The one we currently had has many years on it, and it became a failing piece of equipment. So we did invest some dollars in that. It is a truck mounted one that Tom will use really on a monthly basis to do top dressings to improve the health of the greens through the season. And that will last us for 10, 20 years. So that was a good investment that we made. And then the final thing, as far as on the course, is we started doing this last year, but we redid it again this year. After the winter was over, we re-edged all the bunkers and then just filled them in. Last year, they were in need of some improvements. And we've got some really nice comments on, the work that's being done out there and just the condition of the golf course overall. Tom and his crew are doing a fantastic job keeping the golf course, in the condition that it's in.
I agree. I think that Tommy's done a great job.
Yeah, it looks good.
We're lucky to have him.
Well, I think that actually, good evening, everyone. For those who I haven't met yet, my name's Steve Howard, and Ryan mentioned I'm the Director of Marketing, and part of my role is basically online reputation, listening, as well as working with Chris to ensure if we have any blind spots from a experience perspective, that we talk through and put together a strategy to help, if needed, to improve the experience that folks have at Old Scotland Links in Bridgewater. But I'm happy to report, as I looked at 2023, and given what Ryan spoke about earlier with having close to 14,000 rounds, it's always a challenge to make sure that we're maintaining a positive reputation and that we're delivering a really good product and customers see a value and want to continue to come back to the course. So far this year, we're averaging a 4.5 star rating out of 5 with 73 reviews. And you can see the distribution. So 56% of the ratings that we received that you received were 5-star, 29 or 40% were 4-star. And then we can see basically, where are you getting your reviews? Where are they coming in from? So Golf Advisor is close to 90% of where the reviews come in, and you have a 4.9 or a 4.5 rating there. On Google, we had 7 so far this year, which is 10% of your overall, and you have a 4.7. And we have 1 on Facebook, and you have a 5-star rating there. One of the things at the very bottom of this slide that I like to pay attention to is how does Old Scotland Links compare to some of the courses in the area? So our tool allows us to look only at Google to see where does Old Scotland Links rank among some of the other courses. There's 5 CX categories that I have listed off to the side: customer, location, product, service, and value. Those are individual categories in which a course could be rated upon. I'm happy to announce at this point in the season, Old Scotland Links has all 5 of the categories. You guys are leading in all 5 of those categories. And I think it's a testament to the product that Chris was just walking through and the improvements being made there, and Tom and his team working hard on that. The service is really a testament to the frontline staff, that Chris manages. The location is what it is. I mean, we can't change where it's located, but from a value perspective, I think that speaks a little bit to the price and how people are perceiving the value of spending their time and money at Old Scotland Links. So to be leading in that category at this point in the season, I think is really good. And then finally, on the last slide, I just put in a few examples of, if you want to progress to the next slide. I think Ryan's running the show here. It just gives a few examples of, customers and them leaving feedback. And again, I think it echoes a lot of what we already talked about in terms of people are noticing the, the improvements to the course. I think they're going to be excited for the carts to come out. And so this just overall, I think you're in a very healthy position as we are in June already with the online reputation of the course.
It's always had a nice reputation though as well, but I think this year with the sand traps getting fixed and the improvements you made, that's great.
Brian and Stephen and Chris, I have a couple of questions for you. I'm, for lack of a better word, attacked on all the time by people. First is the driving range that has gone up drastically in price. People keep asking why. I know a number of people who have said they've always done the private driving range, but going up to $600, they just refuse to pay it. And I think, wasn't it like 300 before? Or that might have just been a special too. But
No.
they question the driving range price. Another thing is lessons or clinics. I know before we had 2 gentlemen that gave lessons there. According to your website, which is my own little question on, I was looking up, I don't know, something on the website or just looking at tee times, and I noticed it does say instruction. or lessons. And I looked and I thought, oh, good, they hired someone. And it still shows the past two instructors who are no longer there. People are always asking me when, even just clinics, if not private lessons, when those will take place. I don't know, I take my lesson there too. And God knows I need lessons. But so those are the two main things I hear are people are just looking for an explanation why the driving range went up so much and why there aren't lessons at clinics. I know when you first took over the course, we were told that you're in the process of hiring a pro for lessons, but I haven't seen that. So if you could just address those couple of things.
Yeah, so both fair points. The driving range I'll take first. The challenge with the range is it's not affordable or economical to maintain both sides of that range. And the private side is expensive, right? The wear and tear on that tee, the amount of balls that are hit by the individuals that purchase that, it really just got to become very out of scale for what the golf could handle. So the conversation really evolved around, let's shut one of the tees down, let's stop both sides, right? That's a rare thing to have. We can manage the public side far easier than the private side, if you will. And that is simply an economical decision where the market would suggest if you were to find another range like that an annual pass to hit balls in that volume, we're at a market-based rate, and before we weren't. And we fully knew going into that wasn't going to be a popular decision, but it was really just more of we need to focus our effort and energy and resources out on the golf course where 35,000 people are going to play or more. And that range was creating a problem for us. So if we were going to do the range, it has to meet the financial needs of the golf course. And so that was purely financial. That was an Indigo decision, and fully recognize it's not extremely popular, but that's where we're at. The instructor side's a bit different. So we do have one instructor who is an employee of the golf course who is able to provide lessons, and we're actively pursuing a full-time golf professional for this golf course. The challenge is to have someone who's not extremely local, who's a full-time employee of the club, is problematic because there aren't as many lessons as some of us maybe think. So there's people that want lessons, but there hasn't been the demand for lessons that would support a full-time teaching professional. So what that means is kind of put that to the side and said, all right, maybe we can take a golf professional that's more of an assistant manager for Chris that can also teach, who's PGA certified, et cetera. And really that's what we're looking for now. And that would be the perfect marriage there. So we know that we need it, but it's not something that we've been able to find as of this point in time.
Why does it need to be a course employee? Before the two men that did it, and Chris or Jim can probably answer this better. I don't believe they were course employees.
Yeah, they weren't, and really what that becomes is just liability. If we're not covered under workers' comp, and there's people working with a wide range of people, including children, there are just so many risks and challenges and issues associated with either volunteers or private contractors that in order to do it legally and make sure that the town's interests are protected, they really must be an employee of the club.
Okay,
And we, yeah, and we find that, all over, and it's not, I know there's plenty of people that would volunteer their time and teach youth and do things. We'd love to do that. We're just not able.
Okay, can I jump in there too? There's just a couple of questions I for you. You're talking about the school, the lessons, a golf school is gonna open. We used to always have a golf school called the Jack Buckley School of Golf. He was one of the founding members, and he was also superintendent at the Eastern School System. And he was one of the founding people on the golf, helped us build the golf course. And we had a very successful youth program. Now, I heard you mention it in the beginning, Ryan, of your presentation earlier, talking about that you're going to have a youth program going through. Is that just going to be a addition to the Jack Buckley School of Golf?
I'm gonna let Chris expand on that.
Okay. Well, hold on then. I just want to know this on the private range that you're not going to use anymore. What's going to happen to that area?
So we are using it, but we just came up with a fee that would be commensurate with us maintaining it. So to Gina's point, it went up considerably, and we do have a number of people that have purchased that, but it was a deep step up from where we were in the past.
Yeah, it
Was-
doubled.
do
Basically,
you
Yeah.
think, I'm sorry, Tom, go ahead.
No, okay. It was 300, 600 now. All right. I while we were talking to, and I just want to come back one other time, and I apologize. I didn't talk more about it in the beginning. So it was a 3-part. The other was just going back to those golf carts. You had 41 golf carts that were ours. And that, my understanding is, if I read the contract correct, any money that was any equipment that was ours we should be reimbursed for it. Is that correct? So if you turned
Yeah.
that money in, again, I'm just going off what I'm just reading.
No, that's right. I believe, yeah, whatever the golf course had when we came in, they should have when we leave. But whether
Okay.
that we leave 41 carts, that'll be better than the ones that we took, or we in some way compensate the town for the golf carts. There is an accounting system that's been, already communicated to the town for what golf course we've returned or netted down the new lease with, and what the value of that is. I think out of the 41, that may have ended up being 39, but we're splitting hairs. The town will not or should not be penalized for, whatever the math becomes for what we're doing with the current fleet and what we're gonna leave if and when Indigo leaves would be accounted for.
Okay. I think it's around 16.5. My numbers aren't right. 16,000 was around the trade-in value was those carts.
Yeah, it could have been. I just gotta look up. I mean, because the new
Yeah, no problem.
carts are 400,000. So
Yeah.
it's
I-
substantial.
But see, some of the money we're hoping goes to the one, and the recreation does not have a lot of money, so.
I understand.
We're always looking for, so yeah, two things, the ones that haven't been answered, the Jack Buckley School of Golf and about that private course, you're gonna look into that, and that's great, thank you.
Yep.
Can before you go on, can I just go back to the driving range too? My thought is always been, and it's a concept of diminishing returns. The more you go up on the price, the fewer people you have, versus if you charge less, the more people you get.
That would be correct. Yeah.
So that's my thought. If the price were lowered, I don't know how many people would actually sign up, but maybe run a special or something. It might be too late for this year because if people already bought. Any idea off the top of your head how many people have bought the $600
I
package?
think, I think it's less than 50, but what we're really working towards is the problem with the private range is you hit off of actual grass turf. So the
Mhm.
more people over there, the more expense and the more maintenance. So that it becomes really diminishing returns where it becomes unmanageable. I think
Okay,
that,
makes
I
sense.
think if we were to move away from what we've done this year, it would probably be looking at just stopping that entirely and opening up just the public side of the of the driving range. Because the amount of balls that we're losing, the maintenance of those tees, the expense to pick them up, clean them, all of those things, it just becomes, it's just too much.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you. Oh, and your webpage has to be updated. As I said, it still shows
Yeah,
instructors and,
I made that note and we will update that. And we're still actively pursuing a golf professional, so we hope to
Mhm.
too.
okay, maybe just say like in process or, announce soon something.
Yep.
Okay,
But
great.
thank you.
Thank you.
We've had a good time. You guys have done a great job when previous to us coming in. And, some of the timing of COVID and some of those things have certainly helped, but I think we're in a really good spot. I think the consumer and the general customer is happy. And, we appreciate being there. I think Chris is doing a great job. I think Tom is doing a great job. We're working well with Barrett's. I really feel like the golf course is doing very well. So I hope we can at least leave you with that I believe golf is in a good place in Bridgewater right now, but always happy to hear suggestions and we can always get better.
Great, thank you.
We appreciate you being there too. Yeah, we're not trying to be advantageous or aggressive. We're just trying to find out what exactly where, just trying to stay on top of it because the public called us.
Listen, I don't envy any of you on this call, so I really appreciate that. And so just let us know how we can help and we'll be back, at our next turn and give you another update. Hopefully it's just as positive.
Great.
Great, and
Great.
if we can set something up, like, doesn't have to be every month. If Chris can jump on and just give the golf report when we meet. But if we could have Ryan, you and Steve on, say, every 2 or 3 months, just to give major updates.
Yeah, Gina, maybe we can do a quarterly update. You just let us know what looks good for you. If Chris fills in in the in-between and we kind of give a quarterly state of the golf course, I think that could work well. If that makes sense.
It does. Good. Thank you.
Thank you very much for you guys coming on tonight and answering our questions. I'm sure in the future there'll be more questions. And
Looking forward to it.
yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
all. Have a good night.
Guys.
See you guys.
On the agenda, the next thing that we're going to bring up is an update on the pickleball courts. Is there anyone?
Okay, can I interject here, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
There was a bunch of emails that were sent between pickleball people and the town. When I say the town, I was included for Parks and Rec. Mike, I think you were. The rest of the people, it was weird who it went to. It went to Emily Williams, Ian Holmberg for both the senior center, but Parks and Rec people were left off. It came through as we had approved 8 to 12 being charged. The end of our last meeting, that I had to leave, but when I listened to the recording, I know that Tom had a lot of questions on it. So I was gonna suggest we revisit the whole thing. In the meantime, this whole string of emails, the first one was that they now wanted to charge not just 8 to 12, but 4 to 8 at night. Then there was another one from Bruce Ekstrom. No, Bruce somebody. I can't remember his last name. That said they wanted to charge all day, dawn to dusk. I personally am against that. I've talked to the town manager and not just going to him for this. I was meeting with him for something else, and we started talking CPC projects. And one of them we're talking about just closing out for the expense part for community preservation was pickleball courts. So we started talking about them charging. It opens a whole can of worms. And I think, is Joe Pitta still here? He was, he must have left. Couple things, they said that the senior center will collect money, will collect the money for them. Emily Williams has said absolutely not, that they're not collecting the money. I think there's a lot of assumptions in there that things will be done. They, in one of these emails, this Bruce has said they need to raise money because they need to put in electricity. And I know we talked at the last meeting about the whole electricity. In talking to Carlton Hunt one day, who's the chair of the Energy Committee, he has suggested putting 2 solar panels on, which would more than be enough to charge the defibrillator. So I think there's a lot to look at, and plus the town manager had said he had agreed to it before and said, as Jim had brought back to us, that if it's run like Little League or football, then it's fine. But in talking to him this last time about the whole concept and of them charging, and he said, in order for it to be like Little League or the other sports, they would have to reserve the courts. You know, are we ready for them to reserve the courts, all 6 courts? Jim Small made the suggestion one day, maybe have them reserve 4 courts and leave the other 2 open. I think it's something we have to look at, just the whole thing on the charging. I mean, it's not up to the pickleball people to fund all the repairs or maintenance or anything like that. So, like I said, I just think it's something we need to look at it again, what this group's goal is. Are they going to reserve the courts to be able to charge? I don't know. That's just my 2 cents.
If you want me to jump in, I'll say
Jump
this.
right in.
And I said this, Mike, and who else is there on the board? Just us 3.
Only 3 of us tonight, Tom.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I think you've already sort of voted to let them do it. I think
From
my
8 to 12.
I think my only feeling is they have it 8 till 12 in the afternoon. I usually play at 6:30. We get there around 6:37, and then people come. But in the middle of the day, there's no one there, and there's a big crowd that comes at night. I don't know why they need it till 12 in the afternoon. If they want to run it from 8 to 10, 2 hours, I'm cool with it. There's not many people. There's a group of us who play early in the morning. I don't know. It's when somebody says 7 days a week, they're reserving it. I don't know. I don't know. Monday through Friday, but they're doing it every day, 7 days a week. They're gonna take the courts.
Yeah, and I have to say, I voted for it to charge for those hours. But and it would have passed anyways, even if I voted no. My thought was, they were telling us that it will keep the out of towners out. That's the way they pitched it to us, that there's a lot of, or at least how I took it, that there's a lot of out of towners that their own towns charge, but so they'll come to Bridgewater and play for free. So if we charge, they'll be more apt to stay in their own towns. So I thought that's a good reason.
Well, they also said they wanted to charge a minimal fee, and they also said they were gonna run it just as Little League and football and those groups were. That's the only reason I went for it.
Right.
Now,
thinking about
maybe it's time to revisit with a group from that and a group of us and sit down and hash out everything. And say the good points and the bad points.
Right, I think so. I asked someone, I saw her yesterday after church, a friend from West Bridgewater that was playing pickleball here last year. And she said she plays once a week, sometimes twice. And I asked if they've said anything about charging yet. And she said, no, they keep talking about it, but nobody has yet. And I think it's something that I think in order for us to sit back down with them, do we have to make a motion to revisit it? You know how the old town meetings say after the vote was taken, they would make a motion to reconsider?
I thought tonight maybe someone from pickleball would be here on the meeting tonight.
Joe Pitta was, but he seems to have disappeared.
Well, I think we should revisit with them if people are unhappy the way things are going.
He should, Joe, I want to make
I
sure.
had faith in Joe Pitter and Jimmy
Joe Pitta,
Campbell.
great man, and Jim Campbell is a great man. I'm not saying anything derogatory at all. I think the world of him, and Jim was on our board for 30 years. So that isn't it. It's just, I don't know who's going to collect all this money. Are they going to make it a nonprofit? How are they going to do all this?
We don't
When
know.
I asked them before, they didn't have a nonprofit number. So where's the money going?
Well, let's
Right,
sit
and
down and talk
according
with them.
to, I'll forward you guys on that last email that Bruce had written. And it was, well, actually not the last one. And thinking about it, Brooke did forward it on. So I don't know. I'm still on the fence, and I'm like the fiddler on the roof, on this hand, on the other hand, on the other hand. We don't usually charge for our facilities, but
Yeah, we
we
do.
do charge for the golf course. But the golf course is different too, because there's a lot more
Maintenance.
maintenance to that than there is to the pickleball courts.
But the kids all pay. Little League pays us, football pays us, everyone pays us to use
Right,
the
but
facility.
they reserve the fields for those times, and that's what Michael Dutton was saying when he said, like, the other leagues are run, his thought was that they would reserve them. But then it gets down to, they're talking now charging from dawn to dusk. Who's going to be there, one, to check everything for, all.
Who said that it's dawn to dusk, Gina? Who said that? Jimmy Campbell, Joe Pitta?
No, that's this Bruce.
Well, he was the one who presented it to us that night, wasn't it?
Right. And then
Okay, well, why don't we sit
they
down with
started-
Bruce? Why don't we sit down with Bruce, Jimmy Campbell, and Joe Pitta for starters, and just hash out some of these things?
That's a thought.
Hey, Mike,
Let's
can we get
invite them to the
first-
next, I wish it was I wish it was a meeting where we could sit down face to face with people.
This is
Because we'd have more success answering some of these questions, I'm sure.
Mike,
Mhm.
and I want to get off this after because it's sort of, I agree with you. We're just.
We're not getting
spinning
anywhere.
Wheels a little bit.
Right.
If we meet, not if we, if we meet with Jim, I like to have them before they start charging people. Have somewhere that they have a nonprofit number. It's not that I don't trust them.
They said they were gonna do that,
Bruce,
Tommy.
80
They
years
said,
old.
they said they were gonna do that.
Okay, Bruce is 80, Jim is 78 or 78 or 79. And Joe Pitt is maybe the younger one at 77. You don't have young people. And, once they get sick, all of a sudden, in 3 years from now, we'll all be sitting here going, okay, where's all the money? What's going
Well,
on?
Well, they said they were gonna rectify the money every year.
Mhm.
And either put it in an account to fix the courts or buy new nets or something like that. So why don't we meet with them and just, all these questions we have, why don't we square that away with them in person somewhere?
Yeah, let's do it.
Gina,
Yep, that's fine.
keep writing down
I-
all your questions on
Right,
pickleball.
that's what I was gonna say. If we write down all our questions, we can consolidate them.
Cause I know, I know there are a couple of the members, I don't know about Mark. I think Mark voted for it because of the analogy put forth by the Little League and football, that it was gonna be similar to that.
Mm-hmm,
For it. But I
Yep.
don't, think Danny was in favor of it.
right. And like I said, the only reason I voted for it was because it would keep leave the courts more open for Bridgewater people. But in talking to Tina Larson one day, when she'll sometimes walk with our walking group, and it was right after this whole string of emails started, and she had said, her thought was she wasn't happy with me when I said I was against it. But she said their thought was for all day, because they have to buy all this stuff for the pickleball courts, and they have to buy balls, and they have to do this.
Don't they bring their own rackets and balls?
No,
Shut-
and that's what I said to Jimmy Campbell, that when he was on the meeting. Why do you have, Bruce, one of them, why do you
Don't go play
have?
tennis with, and expect the park department to give you tennis balls.
Yeah,
No, they don't. They don't.
Don't
no,
bring,
they're buying
What
balls.
tennis
Tom.
court? What tennis court do you go to that you have to bring the net? The balls are already there. Of course not. The net is what the net and the court is all you pay for. And
Right,
you bring
when I play
your
tennis, I brought my
balls.
own tennis balls. When I go
Yep,
play pickleball, I bring my own pickleballs.
yep. Everyone does except Mike.
Yeah,
no,
no, I think we need to look at it again. And as far as older people, I know this Tina, there were a whole bunch of other ladies that were on this email thread. I don't know them. I'm guessing they're younger. Tina, I don't know how old she is, but I'm guessing she's obviously younger than the three guys you just mentioned. So there are younger people, but still, what's gonna happen down the line? And plus, they'd need to reserve the courts. And are we going to let them reserve all 6 courts?
No, okay, back to what they go Monday, Friday, they do the 8 to 10 or 8, they want 8 to 12. In the afternoon, have you been down there in the afternoon? It's a whole different group of people and they're younger. It's probably younger adults, younger people. Are we gonna charge them too? Every person touches the courts? I
That's
think you
what
gotta
they're
leave it open,
proposing.
the other way.
Right,
well, again, these are discussions that we have to have with Joe Pitta,
Yep,
Jimmy Campbell, Gina, Tommy, myself, Danny, Mark, and we'll bring all the scenarios together and come up with a game plan.
I like it.
mhm,
We can talk this and beat this, but unless we're together and talk it all out, we're not gonna get anywhere.
Hey,
Great.
can I
And
do this? Can you see who's on this call right now? Is there anyone else besides
yep, I
us?
can.
Okay.
There's Brooke. There's
don't
Eileen
see them.
Heine, Nancy Wood, and John Hart.
Oh, okay. Is Nancy waiting to talk?
I think so.
Oh, let's
Yes.
get
No, we
her.
can,
on the
no,
phone.
no, I was just asked to come in and we were talking with Brooke about the summer program, which I know nothing about because I don't know anything, and she invited Kim Williams.
Okay, we can jump onto that. in a minute. We just wrote down with pickleball.
I'm sorry,
One of
Nancy. I
the-
didn't know you were on here.
Right.
No
one of the-
worries. It was Brooke asked me to come in, but I can't give anything because I don't know anything.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for
One of
answers to
the-
the summer rec program.
One of the last things on the pickleball courts before we jump on to the next thing. Is the town manager also said he was going to ask the town attorney to look into this whole thing on the legalities of groups charging money for our courts without they'd have to reserve it. So he was going to look into that too.
When is he supposed to get back to you on that?
Don't know, but I have to talk to him for community preservation this week, so I'll mention that too.
Okay.
Do we
Nina,
have-
Nancy, is it
Yes.
helpful if, do you want to talk, or do you have to get information from the other lady there, Kim? Is that what you're?
So,
Well-
no, Brooke asked me a question last week, I think it was, and I asked Jim a question of where the summer rec program was going, whether there had been any hirings. There's a confusion about the 4th of July. On one form, it says we're not running the 4th of July. One form, it says the registration, the payment says it is for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of July, 4th week. But Kim and I and Jim all discussed that there would be no program on Monday and Tuesday. So there's
Oh,
a lot
yeah.
of confusion. I guess there's been a lot of questions back to Brooke or emails or something to the email. I have nothing to do with it right now on the email because I can't access it.
Okay,
Jim and I are supposed to, I asked if he could get together last Friday so I could see where the numbers were as far as registrations, et cetera, and so forth. Because Kim hasn't done anything. She didn't put it out in the school system. Nobody knew there was a program running. I've had people ask me, is there a program? Are you hiring? There's a lot of questions going on about the program.
well,
And
I
I
think.
Can't
I think
answer them because
last-
I don't know.
I think last year we really were enthusiastic about the program, and we put forth to Kim Williams that we wanted her to look at it as a good thing for the town and to be supportive of it. Is that right, Gina?
It was, and I thought. Kim
And
came
now if
back
we're
and-
not, if we're going up to a dead end street here, Nancy, that's not fair to you. And you're a chance to have a successful program.
Mhm.
Should we do anything with Kim Williams?
I
I'd
guess she was
like to-
invited to the meeting tonight.
Right,
Brooke
I
beat us to that one.
would like to put it in the form of a motion to make it official that we write to Kim Williams and also copy the town manager on it and say how dissatisfied we are that
the
we were
enthusiasm.
left out of the whole summer program, and plus Nancy Wood, who's the director, isn't able to access anything. And
Well, I
how
haven't even gotten
this-
paperwork to fill out for a director. She didn't advertise my position. She advertised the counselor's positions, but I don't know. She didn't put in that they were supposed to be 17 or older when we put that in there. So I don't even know who's applied or anything else. I asked Jim and we're going to try to get together this week, sometime after school. I had Friday off and he unfortunately had Friday off, so we couldn't meet. But we're going to try to getting together this week if possible, so I can see the numbers, I can see, but everything went online.
But
And
no, are the schools aware that there's a program, Nancy?
I don't believe so. I haven't seen it in anything I've seen that has been put out to the parents.
Wow. You would think
And we
that if the
can-
town wanted to have a
Part of-
successful program,
part of
that
my
would have been done
motion
first.
Would be,
She,
and Nancy, if you can just jot some of these, I'm trying to jot them down too, but some of the things down and just shoot them to us.
Brooke knows
I
some
think
of it
we
because I
should-
emailed her last week.
Okay,
Right, but I think we should, the reason she came to the last meeting was because I happened to, at the town cleanup, be talking to the town manager and saying how unhappy I personally was
Mhm.
about and thought the rest of the Parks and Rec would agree that a couple things, one, and I think that's why she came on last month, was the charging for that physical therapy, running the things on the classes on the pickleball courts and collecting. But nothing came back from the town. They didn't reserve the courts or anything. When I had told him how unhappy I was with that, and he said, well, somebody can't do that, come on to the courts. I said, right, maybe you should tell your assistant town manager that. So I think that's why they were on the last time.
Well, I kind of got the feeling when Jim and I met in February to discuss budget, I asked, why wasn't the Recreation Commission doing this? And she sort of put me off as, oh, they didn't need to be involved.
And that's
Hey,
not-
Jimmy Small, can we get Jimmy involved here? Jim,
Hello.
all right, hey,
Hello.
Jimmy, hey, can you give us a heads up here? Have you talking to Williams? Have you
Yeah, well,
spoken to her?
Nancy and I met a bunch of times, kind of developed, I guess if you want to call it collaboratively, I don't know whether this kind of I was kind of calling the shots, but, what it looks like they just didn't want to, their big sticking point was us handling cash. They wanted to try to get away from that. So they kind of developed a payment system, kind of like you would pay, I guess, I don't know, is it Unipay, like your excise
Yeah, they're
tax?
charging people now to pay by credit card or a check or whatever. They're collecting more money off of
Well,
it.
you can go.
You can still go pay cash, but I've already heard some people that have had some problems with that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think they, there's some bugs and I went up there today, but I wasn't able to, she was in meetings all day because I just wanted to talk to her about, getting Nancy on that access to that. There's an email that they set up, summer program at bridgewaterma.org. And,
Has
I'm-
that gone
I'm
out to the
supposed be
schools?
on it too, but I can't
Has-
really,
Has that
I can't
email
get on
gone
it
out to the
either.
schools?
what,
I
well,
mean,
know
how much public knowledge do people have that?
I
this
don't
is
think there's been any
program?
because it hasn't been on Bridgewater Residents or on the Facebook page that I'm on. I haven't seen anything. I've had people asking, is anybody hiring counselors? I don't dare ask back because it was all online. But Kim was gonna go to different locations to get this out. I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
Jimmy, can
we
you
do
meet with
this?
her and square it away?
Yeah,
I don't,
I want to try to get, see, the thing before, the way this whole thing kind of is, been rearranged, Nancy had all the information going to her last year, and I'm guessing probably the last 31 years, whatever, but now they didn't want Nancy having stuff going to her personal email, they didn't want to have us collecting money in the parking lot, so, that the problem is Nancy's the one that knows how to run this thing, and she's kind of not really involved yet, which I went up there today and said, I couldn't meet with anyone because they were all in meetings, but I said to the secretary up there, Don, I said, Nancy needs to be brought on. And I don't know, Nancy, have you heard anything about hiring counselors?
nothing.
Yeah, so I mean,
We're
we gotta
only a
get some
week.
I haven't
away.
heard
We're only
anything. I
a
haven't.
week away. This is crazy, Molly. We're
We're
only
like 3
weeks
weeks
away.
away.
And,
I know,
and
we're like-
this thing is gonna
So
go
last year,
around your neck.
Tommy, so last year, we had done interviews in May, which Kim sat in on all the interviews. And then Jim gave back his information as who we should hire of the few applicants that we had. And then suddenly nothing was done. We got down to the week before recreation was to start, and I emailed back the HR and I said, what's going on? She knew nothing about, oh, you're starting Monday? She stayed all night Thursday and Friday to get all the paperwork done. And by then we had to have a second set of interviews because we'd lost people from the first set. because they took other jobs.
Nancy, can we advertise? I'm thinking just for, let people know, can we go online and advertise it? Like the camp, and then Smalley, tomorrow you gotta bang on her door and she's gotta listen. Yes, somebody's
Yeah.
got, because this
I
is
know we
crazy.
have, I did talk to the treasurer's department because I wanted to find out how many people we got. So I guess we have 20 families signed up. I don't know what,
20.
I don't know. So you have at least 20 kids, but the problem is with the way that whole thing's structured is that kind of tells you absolutely nothing because
Right.
it might be like, for instance, Nancy Wood, what is her name? It works in the treasurer's office, Woodson, Nancy
Oh.
Wood.
Woodson.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
Nancy,
Is he still
Her
there?
granddaughter's going, but she's only doing 1 week. And, you know, some people's kids are doing like 7 weeks, but they're doing, 2 days a
But
week. And then
Does
we
this
don't know
show
how many
that?
kids. What's that?
Does this thing that she sent you supposedly a list, would that show that?
No, well, I don't, the problem is I
Or
can't
does
get
it just
onto
show
that
the amount of
email.
families that have signed up?
The problem is I can't get onto that email and I can't get, so I don't know exactly how many kids are signed up. I know there's gotta be at least 20 because there's
Can you get a
20
list,
families.
Jimmy? Can you
What's
get a
that?
list? Can you get a
So
list?
the only
Yeah, I
one
can get
that
the list, but I need to get Nancy, well, we need to get counselors too, but I need to get Nancy approved and I need to get her access to that email so she can reach out to, because if I reach out to those, I'll say all 20 of those families, she's just gonna have to reach out to them again anyways, because,
Correct.
she's the one that's dealing with them. And she's really, she's the one that knows this program inside and out. I mean, I got 1 year, she's got 30 more years than I do, so.
Mhm. And this-
Has anything
it
been done with the
needs-
closet?
Yeah, it needs to be put out to the schools too. And people on Facebook will,
I know they'll spread the word, and I've always put things in the library, but she's got everything online. You can't put any of the forms out online because she doesn't want that.
but you should at least be able to print out a flyer to say the program
Right.
will run on blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Dates from, go to this website or even put a QR code. So they just scan it and it opens it up.
Right, but I don't know if that was discussed about a QR code. I don't know if one was ever formed.
I haven't seen one,
Okay, and
no.
even if
Jimmy, can
they,
you find this stuff out tomorrow?
Yeah, I can find, I know there's no QR code. You know what I'll do? I'll send you guys the picture of the flyer here that you can print out. If you go to the website, you can, there's the whole flyer is on there. And I don't know where you got the confusion, Nancy, about that July 4th. The form I have says no program will be held on Tuesday, July 4th.
Right, that form does, but then if you go in, we had discussed in the meeting that we weren't holding it Monday and Tuesday, the 3rd and 4th. But then somebody said when they went to pay for that week, it was confusion that there was no program at all on the 4th. The week of the 4th.
I don't think, I don't know.
I guess Brooke found the same thing. I don't know. She was the one that asked me the other day about it.
okay,
Yeah,
Nancy,
Jimmy, just find
Jim.
out if it's running tomorrow. Just talk to Williams and see if we can get this put to bed and that she puts the advertising out. Well, they have 2 more weeks of school.
The kindergartners get through Friday and the rest of the school gets through on the 16th.
Okay, so we're talking right around the corner. So we've got to move on this.
And there's a
you-
week in
and
between.
Staff, you need a staff.
Well, it'll be nice. We didn't have much of a staff last year, and I don't know what she budgeted for a staff because according to the meeting we had, and Jim, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought she put only 2 staff members in for the budget.
Yeah. Put in 2 counselors and increase the hours for them like a half hour a day. So they might be, and I think she's listing it at just a touch bit more than minimum wage, not.
What do you mean she
enough to
increased it
really-
a half an hour?
Well, I think we had them working, what did we have them working 4 hours, getting paid for 4
8 to
hours?
1, 8 to 1.
Each, well, yeah, right. So 4 hours a day, but I think she budgeted for 4.5 hours, 15 minutes.
No, I mean, they were working 4 hours with the kids, but they were there at 8 o'clock to go over things and finish up in the end till 1. So it should have been 8 to 1 for hours.
Well, then maybe they got a half-hour pay cut. I'm not sure, because I think she put him in for 4. I think she was, because she told me, she said, I put him in for.
She's been cutting
4.5.
everything. That's what I'm concerned.
See, and that's not up to her. That's, she should confer with you and Nancy, and as you said, you've had the 1 year and Nancy's had 1,000 years. Nancy needs to be consulted. We can't run a successful program. One of the things the town manager, when I also mentioned that we weren't involved with the summer program, and when I said that, Kim was doing it all, and he said, well, she has to, because she has to look and see if they at least break even. Well, that's fine. Let her look at the numbers and say, yeah, it breaks even or it doesn't.
But I'm confused because last year we had $2,000 over by the time we got through, minus the 300 they haven't paid me yet. I'm still waiting. I've submitted all the paperwork, but I have not to see the check yet. So
Right.
if you even took that 300 out, we still made $1,700 in the program.
Right. So, I mean, I can
But you
understand
provided
it.
a great service for a lot of families.
Right.
Right. And I can understand them reviewing each program to see
I
if
get
it's worthwhile running. But it's not up to them to run the whole program. I mean,
You're right.
we ran a good program for all those years, thanks to Nancy and Charlie and Brooke. And now, because the control is taken away from us, it's not going to be a successful program in my mind.
Gina, the control of the recreation has been taken away from us from everything. Golf
Which
course,
is what I want to
everything.
hit on too.
All right, Nancy, Jimmy's gonna work with Kimberly tomorrow and see if
Okay.
we can square some things away. And if
I'll be in touch with Jim.
okay, all right. And if
The
you
only
run up
thing is,
again, if you run up in a dead end street,
we'll be
give-
back.
you can give us a call, or you can give us send us an email or something and let
If
us know
Jim
quickly.
is Jim still online?
I am.
Okay, that number that she put, the 80/20, does that go only to an answer machine or does that go anywhere else?
80/20. What's that?
The
That's the
recreation,
box, that's your office number.
That's my
Phone
office
number.
number, but I don't have anyone sitting at that desk.
no,
yet,
but
so-
is there an answer machine so that if somebody leaves a message, someone can call them back?
I think what happens is I don't think so.
Because the way Charlie used to have it set up was if it rang there, it rang to his phone. And then he could answer, and then he gave me the calls back of who I needed to return the call to.
Yeah, I don't think.
I just don't want anybody calling that number to get a dead end and then say, oh, there's no program, there's nobody there. There's, that's a bad thing for us.
Oh, I'm sure. Where do you see this 80/20? I don't see that on here.
It was on several of the paperwork on phone number, which you can call for information.
Oh,
Boy, Jimmy, just put that number to your number.
oh, you're asking a lot, Tommy. I don't. That's tech. That sounds like I information technology to me. I don't
Okay,
know.
but you know what? Have one of your daughters do it for you.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Jim, are you available to meet on Wednesday afternoon?
Yes, hold on, let me see. Wednesday afternoon. Yeah, it should be good, I think.
All right, I get through work at around 4 and can I meet you at the office?
Yeah, I got a meeting till 2:30 and then after that, I'm good.
Okay, I'll text you later.
Good.
Okay.
You know what?
Okay,
Nancy,
thank you.
Nancy, if you have any
Yes.
other issues, please get a hold of us.
We
Like
will.
within the next 48 hours, this thing's got to get off the ground.
I will do the best I can. I'm in the end of school too, so.
All right,
Yeah,
Jimmy, you help us too. Let us know.
Yeah, I'll get in. I mean, I'm gonna send her an email, but to get into that office is, I mean, it's not as easy as we would think. I get, plus she was off.
the door's
last week,
locked.
so she's gonna be busy, so I'll, the big
I
thing
tried
for
to see
me
her and
is-
the door was locked.
yeah, I know. So the big
The
thing for me
government
is we gotta
servicing.
get- we
Whatever
gotta
happened
get,
to government serving
counselors.
us?
They don't let you in there. It's terrible.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they don't want,
Everything's
Um,
locked up in there. They don't serve us anymore.
we need to
No,
get counselors. The big thing is getting the counselors, because I think it sounds like the numbers, people are signing up. I talked to the treasurer and he's like, yeah, because you got a lot of people that have signed up, but he said he said to me, this is going on for a while. He said, you really need to have someone reach out and call these guys. And I said, yeah, I'm trying to get Nancy on
Well,
board.
we
so
used
she
to
can-
be on the, it used to say, if you do not hear from us, you're all set. And that was on the form, and I think she left that off the form. She left several things off the form when they put it online.
Yeah, I know.
All right,
And
hey,
again,
all right,
that should be up to her.
just so we can move
Right.
this question, Jimmy, please, tomorrow, if you don't get, keep us, you and Nancy text us every day, all the board members, so we know what's going on. And if we have to, maybe we'll go up and see Mike and see if they'll let us in and tell him
And
how.
also stress that the notice needs to be out this week, at least for the kindergarten kids.
What do you mean notice?
So
At the
something
school.
should be,
Put a fire out there to every student.
They're not gonna do that. There's no way. I mean, if Nancy, can you get that out to them? Because there's no way.
I can't, you've got to go through, the superintendent of schools usually puts out a weekly, I don't know if he's been doing it now that Ryan's taken over. They used to put out a weekly thing of what's going on. If we can get a notice out to, and I will see what I can do.
Isn't that guy Ryan in charge of the base?
No, Dave Bewley is retiring. He's done with base. They're hiring for his position.
Yeah, but
Uh,
who hires? Isn't that guy Ryan the guy that you would contact about hiring?
Ryan Powers is the superintendent of schools, acting superintendent of schools.
Is that the guy that we need to go through? I'm just
So
questioning on
if you
how.
have an if you have announcements or something you want to put out, you go through the superintendent's office and they approve it.
But don't they run their own program? The
They
base?
do, but they do also put out things for other people that say not Bridgewater Rainham Regional School District affiliated is what they put on the form or on
Yeah.
the connections they put out.
I would, we don't have anyone that's on like that Facebook Bridgewater residence
I
page.
will go, I have a couple of connections if I'm allowed to do this, but I have a couple of the connections. Road to Kindergarten, those are kids coming into kindergarten next year. I can put an announcement to them. I can put things out as long as Kim doesn't say, oh, you can't do that. That's
If
where
anyone knows someone that's on that page, maybe they could forward them the Bridgewater Park and Recreation Summer Program information registration sheet I just sent you guys, and then they could just list it on there for us. I think I think that's where you're gonna get your most activity, but I'm
Right.
not a member of that
Can
thing.
you do that? Nancy, can you do that tomorrow? Otherwise, Gina will do it.
No,
If
I
Gina-
cannot do it
Gina,
tomorrow.
do
I'm
you know
sorry.
anyone?
Yeah.
Gina
if
knows
you-
everybody.
I
Yeah, she
know.
does.
If you
know
want to
everybody.
post on Bridgewater residents of Bridgewater 02324, you post it, then it needs to be approved.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Lisa Buzz Curley will approve it. I'll tell her tomorrow night when I go to a 4th of July meeting.
And
Okay.
I'm
Good.
gonna have, on another note, I'm gonna have a donation for you guys for the raffle for the thing on Thursday.
I
Okay,
think-
thank you. And we hope everybody will come out on Saturday.
Hey, Nancy, try to get it put in tomorrow. I'm looking here. We got John Hart still waiting to talk.
Yeah,
And we
that's
have-
fine. I'll see what I can do. I'll talk with Jim and we'll work on getting something done.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
You-
Can I suggest that, I know we still have a number of other things, but we talked to John and Eileen, who have been patiently waiting and hopefully still awake from this. And then we'll do that and then jump back to our other things.
Thank
My-
you.
Oh,
Gina.
dead.
If that's been okayed, I would be happy to talk now.
Yeah, is that okay with Tommy, you and Mike?
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. My phone's going dead. Sorry.
Well,
Welcome.
you gotta plug it in because we'll lose quorum if your phone dies.
Here we go. Ellen,
Okay.
welcome.
Yes. Okay, what's first on for them, Mr. Chairman?
Oh, what I
Go
told.
go ahead, Ellen.
Okay, I guess I'm just looking at the agenda. The mobile station is first.
Well, let the lady talk, Gina. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
so, I guess I'm curious, I don't know how this, I think there was an email from somebody in town, or was it there a post on Facebook that went to Parks and Recs asking about Wyman Meadows?
Yes,
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, all right, I was just curious, I somewhere, I think I saw that, but I've lost track of it, and I was funny, I was getting my hair cut the other day, and my hairdresser started saying, oh, and I heard they're gonna be doing something out at Wyman Meadows, and I said, how the heck did you hear that? Because we were just drafting this letter to the abutters. And anyway, that's how word gets around. I thought that was just really funny, but somebody, I don't know who that individual was, but I guess, John, did you know him? Have you talked with him before? The person who posted on Facebook?
No, I haven't talked to anybody about it. The only thing I have done is forwarded the letter and the abutters map to Brooke, and I hope she sent it to the members of the park commission. Did you guys get it?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
She
Yeah,
did,
I was
John.
just wondering if anybody had gotten back with that person who emailed or, whatever. Somebody sent something to Parks and Rec, I think, but I'm not sure. But anyway.
Yeah.
all
yes,
right.
they did.
They did, okay. Do you need me to get back to them?
Brooke
Back
had
to who?
said she responded to him.
All right, well, maybe if she
But
sent
we
him
don't
a
know what
letter
she
in the map,
responded.
that would answer his questions, I think, for now, so. Okay, well, let me just get going. I assume you just kind of want a little bit of background on this. John, you haven't talked to them before about it at all?
No, not at all.
Okay, all right, so just, I mean, if you've had a chance to read the letter that we're sending, and this letter is just going out to the abutters to this property right on Plymouth Street. Does everybody know where this property is?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, as the letter notes, and, the town acquired part of the parcel from the Wyman family for, the water department, and part of it for conservation, which is, the deed is actually in the Conservation Commission name. And like many of the town parklands, as you know, some of these have just been neglected over the years, just for lack of staff, lack of volunteers. Wyman Meadows, I think, was probably the one that was the most neglected. There really was, nobody was taking any initiative out there. No, like Carver Pond and Tiddicate and some other places, Ironworks, we had volunteers that were doing work on the parks, but nothing was going on at Wyman. And I know I came onto the Open Space Committee early to 2020, I guess, and we just tried to get out to each one of the parks. So I went out to Wyman Meadows on a couple of just walks with some other members of our committee, and it's the meadow part is so overgrown with a lot of invasive species and stuff, and we tried to find the trails that on the town part, and we couldn't find anything. They're there if you know somebody, you're around with somebody who's been down there many times, but they're really hard to find, as I think John knows. He's tried to do some work on those. So anyway, it was pretty much inaccessible. As the person who sent the email, there's no sign on the street. 20 years ago, the Natural Resources Trust of Bridgewater, along with all of the other parks, did a really extensive consultant study of this park. They had a volunteer consulting group. I think it was the Conway School of Design that did a number of, the students did a whole range of plans for all of the town parks, including Wyman Meadows. So there's a whole series of maps, really very detailed, showing where trails could be, what the wildlife is, what the slopes of the property were, where the wetlands and streams were. Very extensive, a lot of work done, but then, the town just never did anything with it. And so looking at that property, it's one of the ones that still was not getting very much attention. And we happened to be, the Open Space Committee happened to be meeting with a couple of people from Wyman's, the Wildlands Trust, related to Hanson Farms, because they've been talking with the town a little bit about helping with preserving Hanson Farms. And we were out there, I think it was October of 2021 or something, at Hanson's, meeting with a couple people. And I asked them if we could go over to Wyman Meadows after that meeting was over at Hanson's, just to kind of look at the property. and see if there was any opportunity for us to partner, for the town to partner with Wyman Meadow, because they have that open space parcel there they call the North Fork Preserve. And basically it's landlocked. And so they had just set it aside as kind of forever wildland was what they'd called it, because they had no way to get the public into it, because the only frontage they had on Plymouth Street was a wetland. And so they were really excited about the prospect of us being able to provide the town access road that goes all the way up to the water area, but that would stop right about where the kiosk was put up 20 years ago for the open space area, and creating a, small parking area there. There actually already is one that somebody in the neighborhood, I guess, is mowing. And then creating a path, a trail that goes to the east across the town conservation land, and then picks up on the Wildlands Trust lands and makes a 1.5 trail, one loop. Do you all have the map? Has everyone been able to open that up and take a look at that? So anyway, so we're really excited about it. I think it's just a great use of the Wildlands Trust expertise and staff, because the important thing about this for us is that as the gentleman emailed to Parks and Rec, aren't we using the town land? Well, as we said, the problem with the town land is nobody's ever been around to take care of it. The trails had been neglected, and we started having this conversation before John came on board. So as far as, our view at the time was Wildlands Trust is willing to take on management and upkeep and every kind of maintenance for this property, for the trail, including the parking, work on the kiosk with us, work on the signs to go at the end of the street. And it seemed like in the absence of town staff to do that we should do a great thing to take advantage of. So basically this letter is going out just because we wanted to let the abutters, there's about not very many homes along Plymouth Street, maybe 10 or 12 property abutters, and we just wanted them to know what was going on before we officially filed with the Conservation Commission, because it will require Conservation Commission approval, because there are definitely wetlands there, and it's probably going to involve putting an area of a bog board down across the town area near the parking lot there. So we just wanted to get these people know, so that because the access road goes directly through two homes. I mean, it's an easement, but it goes like on one family on one side and one house on the other. So it's very close to their property. So we wanted to let everyone on Plymouth Street know that this is what's under discussion, and Wildlands Trust does a marvelous job. For any of you who have ever been out to the Great River Preserve at the end of Auburn Street, and they own quite a lot of properties in Southeast Mass that they manage. They just do an excellent job of upkeep and keeping the property spotlessly clean, and they've got expertise in trail cutting, and just it's a really, really good organization. So we think it's just really good to be able to work with them. So after we have this meeting on the 14th, then our next plan is to go to the Conservation Commission and get approval. And then Wildlands Trust will then proceed to start constructing whatever gets approved, the bog board or whatever, and cutting the trail. So that's as far as we had taken it at this point. Now, the person who wrote in, and John also asked me the question following up on that is, well, why aren't we expanding trails to include the town conservation land? And yeah, that's absolutely a great idea. And I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for that. We saw this as phase 1. And as I say, we initiated it because we didn't feel the town had the wherewithal to undertake doing the trails at at Wyman now, after not having had it for 20 years. As I say, we didn't have John on board, and there was no volunteer help over there. There'd really never been any volunteers. taking care of anything. We were a little bit concerned also that there is a 400-foot diameter setback from the wellheads. We're not sure exactly where those are. There's a draft in the plan from 20 years ago that shows, I think, where the potential wellheads were gonna be. But we were concerned that if we might have some issues putting trails on the town conservation land now because of the wellhead protection area. So we would just have to make sure that any trails are outside that 400-foot diameter is my understanding. But so there could be some complications putting trails in on the conservation land that the town owns, but that's.
John, have you been out there?
Oh, yeah,
John?
the property's phenomenal. It directly abuts the Taunton River. It's beautiful out back there. It's.
What
I'd
about the
love to see it.
wellhead? What about the
Uh,
wellheads? Are you gonna be able to stay 400 feet away and still accomplish everything you need?
I don't know. The wellheads are right behind the pump house. I guess you'd have to measure it off or maybe speak to the water commissioner as to where the parameters are, but the property itself is phenomenal, especially with access to the Taunton River. Once you
Yeah,
hopefully
and
get
and
the
what I
Taunton-
want to point out too is what we're proposing right now, it is not within the wellhead protection area. We know that. It's only if we expand into the town conservation area, additional trails beyond, what we could call phase 2. I'm saying this is phase 1. This, we're good. This is on Wildlands Trust property largely. So that, yeah, so it's, if we want to expand, then we're gonna have to work with the water department. And, they've been copied on this all along. They know what's going on.
Good.
Their concerns were, what about trash and things like that? And we're confident that Wildlands Trust will take care of those issues as they do in all their other parklands. So, but yeah, the issues you raise are good ones about, where the wells are and what the setback is, and that will have to all be determined later if we want to start expanding the trails.
Does the trust have enough funding?
Oh, yeah, they're a huge organization. I mean, I don't know what their budget is, but they've got extensive staff. They've probably got 15, 20 staff members. They've got a beautiful building out in Long Pond Road in Plymouth. They have all sorts of activities, they have all sorts of organized hikes, bird watches. Yeah, they're very well established. They have a monthly newsletter. I could, you could sign up for it. It's wildlandstrust.org, and they work with just all the towns in Southeast Mass. They're working on the DW Field Park in Brockton right now. They've done a lot of conservation work in Plymouth and Hanson and Halifax, and
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. That's
yeah,
great.
they're a very, very successful land trust. We're lucky to have them in Southeast Mass, really. So, and they're great to work with. They've just been good. They've been on a number of our open space committee meetings, as has John. So he's heard their presentations, and they just have a lot of expertise. I mean, they knew how to, they know how to draw the map. They know how to cut trails. They know what they're doing. So. And as I
He
said,
actually taught me to answer your question. I got my packet. I'm a new Wildlands Trust member.
oh, good,
um,
yeah.
They just, one of the pamphlets that came with it says newly protected land, McCarthy's Farm in Rockland. We've walked that. It's a small place, but it's very nice. They've done one at Plimpton and in Hanson, and all of them were also paid for by community preservation too. So
Yeah.
are you looking for any town funding or community
No,
preservation
not for this,
funding?
no, not for this project with Wildlands Trust. No, they're kind of estimating that the costs for whatever they do here with, the bog boards or whatever are gonna be about $500. So no, this is basically a cost-free project for the
Okay, good.
town, as far as we know right now. Now when we go to, there's that kiosk there that's been there since the Natural Resources Trust of Bridgewater put that up, I think, about 20 years ago. And it's still standing though. It's in good shape. John said he just posted the map up there today. And, but that'll need some work and we want to work with them on designing, a kiosk that's informative about the area, you know, that talks about the land and the history of it, that it was a dairy farm for so long and they do that work, you know, they have people who design those signs and brochures and things like that. So they're willing to do that for this part of the project. Now, you know,
Good.
if and when we want to expand it to include the town conservation land, then we'll want to probably do different public outreach materials and things. But for now, I'm really anxious to just get this going because we've been talking about it for a couple of years. It seemed like a really simple thing, but as we know, everything takes longer than planned. And when you're working on a monthly meeting schedule, you know, we had a number of site visits that were canceled for weather and different things. So anyway, I'd just really like to get this part done, hopefully get it open by the end of the summer so that people can actually get out there and then use that as sort of a kicking off point if we want to for expanding the trails to include the town land. And John mentioned, and I mentioned with Wildlands Trust too, is if you see on the map where the trail ends at the Taunton River, the town land picks up there and just at the eastern boundary, and it looks like it could extend on town land along the river for some length to extend the trail. John, have you been out at that part of the river where the town land is on the east?
I haven't made it all the way, well, I don't know where the border is, it's probably where the woods start, but mainly I've been to the west of it, back towards Plymouth Street.
Oh,
And
yeah.
there's a bend in the river and all that, where, again, it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's the western, but the eastern part looks like it could be a matter of just kind of extending
Yeah.
where Wildlands Trust proposes to end the trail right now on their property line, but it could be just extended at some point in the future. So.
Yeah. It'll be a beautiful place once, there's more to this, but once they get the river opened up and once they clear the blowdowns, which is a whole nother topic for everybody, but people could come around the bend in that river and just pull over and have a picnic and hang out, and, you know, that's a whole bigger part of the plan in the near future, hopefully, but it's a beautiful piece of property.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Nice,
All right.
nice.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can I ask while you're on here, John, about Styles and Hart, what's being done there? I know the town manager was supposedly putting together, or has put together a study, a group, a subcommittee, a focus
I-
group.
Task force, yeah, I was wondering about that too, because I think I'm on it, but there hasn't been a meeting as far as I know.
All right, I got a couple things on this. I have met with the town manager and the engineer about a month and a half ago about when I have all the drawings. In fact, one of the drawings is hanging up in the Park and Rec office because they gave me an office, but that's a whole nother subject. But I had a meeting with the town manager and Kimberly probably 2 weeks ago, and they're going to put me in charge of managing the Styles and Hart project from in the near future. Once things are more finalized and parking's finalized and stuff along those lines, they're gonna put me in charge of walking through the process with the engineers and with the contractors once it gets going.
Mhm. Can
Okay.
I request, I'm gonna put on my other hat right now for community preservation chair.
Yeah.
Could you come to our meeting on, I wanna say it's the 22nd, I'm not positive, it's the fourth Wednesday of the month, I think it's the 22nd.
Yeah.
Because one of the things we've been waiting for engineering reports from the town.
Yeah.
Is the 2 pieces of property next to the Chinese restaurant and possible parking in 3 different places. So
Yeah.
if you could
Yeah.
go and give our input, it would be much appreciated.
Yeah, we've discussed the parking in the one meeting that I was at. And they had talked about behind Imperial Garden. They had
Mhm.
talked about trying to do it at the main entrance by the town river. And it appears, although this is just totally preliminary, that it appears to me and the engineer and maybe Mr. Dunton that the best parking facility might be at the break in the guardrail, which is basically the center of the park. If you guys know where the break is on Broad Street,
Yeah,
the engineer had the degrees and he had all the topography and how it would fit perfectly in there. And, they'd have to do some engineering of the guardrails in the street and things like that, but they could have parking lot lighting in there and parking for about 10 or 15 cars. This is all preliminary, so don't.
Is that the curb cut that's almost to the top, almost to the houses? The one that you'd wipe out the bottom of your car going in right now?
Yes, that's exactly where it is. And that's whenever I'm in the park, that's exactly where I park. Because it's in the center of the park. Of course, I have a pickup truck and it takes you right to the main pond and it splits the park right in half because they also want it to be handicap accessible. And when you go down that road, and for many of the Bridgewater people that grew up here can attest to,
efficient.
yeah, the access to the main pond is level with the road as you go in there. So part of this is going to be for handicap accessibility, putting docks in, putting small bridges in throughout the park. So people those won't really be handicap accessible, but that appears to be right now, probably the best location for the entrance and exit of the park.
Good,
So-
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I said, I got
And
more to follow, but, I'm just standing by while they still discuss things and be brought in more hands-on between Mr. Dunton and, the engineers.
And that's my neighborhood. I can't wait. I walk through it. I don't park anywhere. I just walk through it.
I love that park. That park is phenomenal. The town, once we get all those trails opened up, is gonna be a gem beyond gems. That place is awesome. It really is.
Tell me,
Let's
tell me if
go for a
you'll
road
play
trip.
back.
Can we have a meeting
But we lost Tommy. If he doesn't come back, we've lost quorum.
Yeah, I'm not sure where he went. Where'd you go,
His
Tommy?
phone probably died.
Where are you,
Did-
Tommy? Yeah, his phone died, right?
Right, okay, if he doesn't come back, we don't have quorum.
All
we-
right,
we
I-
pretty
I'm
much
gonna
wrapped up?
Sign off if there's no other questions about.
No,
one of
we-
those.
We give you our support and we really hope things work out, and if we can ever be any help to you guys, come free.
All right,
Help
and
develop.
I hope
John,
you
John,
come out and walk the trail when it
are
opens
you
up.
involved in the mobile station?
I am not involved
Yeah,
in the
thank
mobile
you,
station.
Eileen.
I am not involved in the mobile station at all.
Okay,
But I would
Lucky.
just want to give you guys a quick update on some things as far as from me, my 13-hour-a-week job. The town is totally committed for the people that are involved in passive recreation, which I never knew what those words were 2 years ago. They have given me a computer, they have given me a phone, and they've given me now an office with Jim.
13 hours a week?
13 hours a week, Michael, yes. Well, part of it was because,
You're a miracle worker.
part of it is, of course, with the Styles and Hot project, as far as me, the engineers or the contractors being able to get a hold of me, number one, but and I kept saying people have no way to get a hold of me if they have concerns about the parks, whatever, so they're totally committed to what I'm doing so far, and
Good.
I know that I don't know a lot of the players involved in a lot of these things, but they've been really good to me, and I've tried to, step in where I could and keep my mouth shut when I knew to, but they've been good and they've totally committed to what I'm doing. So it's
Good.
losing Charlie.
Maybe
of course.
after you have some success, they'll give some commitment to the recreation part of it, because we haven't had any.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I hear you guys talking. I can't imagine what you've been through since the big change, but and Jimmy, I know you're there too. I'm gonna blow some smoke your way, but Jimmy's been phenomenal. When we're losing Charlie, of course, and we're all buddies with Charlie, and I was really looking forward to start leaning heavily on Charlie once things got going. And of course that's terrible, but Jimmy's been phenomenal. He's let me do what I do. He just lets me go. And you need something, Johnny, let me know and I'll be here for you. And I'm down the garage stealing tools and not bringing them back half the time. And
Seems like
I
a
don't,
good
I don't
team.
know how you do what you do in 13 hours, to be
It's-
honest.
well, I got Harry Bailey out at Styles and Hart. I've got Steve Black down at the Ironworks, and the other ones. There's a bunch of people running around Carver's. Carol, I forget her last name, and I think Mel, there's people I see him occasionally, but a lot of people, the stuff just gets done because they're out there doing it, and without their help is invaluable to get anything done. That's for sure.
Mhm. Great. We
Thank you very much,
appreciate it.
John. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Gina, I'm gonna turn the meeting over to you. I have a 4 o'clock start in the morning.
Okay, I think we
so-
need to adjourn because we don't have a quorum anymore.
Okay,
Hey, Gina, I got one thing. If you could, I know it just jogged my memory. We were talking about your CPC hat. Is there any way, you know, the problem with the pickleball court, that we have the crack in it and then the paint job and all that jazz?
Mhm.
Is there any way that, because I know you were on CPC and you're on the rec, I don't have any information there. The town attorney, Jay, is looking for some sort of contract with New England Seal Coat. And I don't have anything, but I know that you and Carlton must have gotten something, right? Isn't that in
Well,
your
see,
purview?
and that's where Charlie did a lot of that.
But you didn't submit
Any-
any,
Right, any contract that has to
Mhm.
do with our grants should be signed by the town manager. Community preservation should get a copy of it. Charlie would do his thing. And I don't know if he signed a contract or just got quotes, and to be honest, I don't know what Charlie did on that.
the town manager
could-
should know that.
I know I should know it, but
No, the town manager. He's responsible for all
right.
financial,
right, but if he wasn't given a contract by Charlie to sign. But
had
I
to.
can ask them to look into it, either Dawn or Josh. And it was New England Seal Coating.
yep.
yeah, New England Seal Coating. You actually have the all the purchases, because I had remember I had Lori Guarini send you all those.
Right, I have all those.
Yeah, so you can see it was like 18, I'm looking at it right here, New England Seal Coat on October 20th of 2021. We paid them $18,890, but that's as far as I have anything in the line of any contracts. I mean, I'm sure, I don't know, how does that work on CPC money? Do they go out to bid on everything? Like,
Charlie would do it, either put it out to bid or contract off of the state contract. I think New England Seal Coating was a state contract, which wouldn't have to
Okay.
be bid.
so, but they don't, Charlie wasn't required to submit all that documentation to anybody, or no?
He should have. And that's what we're trying to crack down with CPC. Because as you know, things get paid that shouldn't have got paid out of CPC money. And we straighten that out. But now every bill that comes in that goes against CPC, I have to review it and give our okay to pay it. Back then we weren't, and I know it was just, well, I guess it was a year and a half ago. We should see contracts coming through, and we're clamping down on that to make sure we see them. Charlie always did things according to the way he should do them, but where he kept contracts, I don't know. Brooke might know. I can ask her too,
Right.
but we
Okay,
can
yeah,
ask Charlie to guide us too.
because I know there was an email thread that went around the next step in trying to get some sort of legal, whatever you want to call it.
Ramifications on it.
Yeah. With New England Seal Coat is they asked me if we had a contract. I'm like, I don't have any contract, but
Yeah.
The
if
town
manager
manager
signed
would
it-
have to sign a contract.
Right, if the town manager signed it, his office should have a copy of it.
okay. Because all I know is how much, the date we paid him and how much we paid him. I don't see anything. I mean, I don't have any files on that as far as I know. I'll keep looking, but
Talk
Right.
to the town
I
manager.
can ask Brooke to. What, Mike? The town
I
manager?
talk to the town manager and his
Yeah,
accountant.
right.
Everything that goes out has to have a record.
yeah, there's a record of the payment, but I don't have any record of any contract.
Right, there
I don't
should have
have
been there should have been a contract for that.
There should have been at least, I know, like a 3 bid, you know, a record of 3 bids, you know, even if they were verbal bids. I don't see them. And I just didn't know how that worked with CPC, whether everything that was, I know you approved the amount of money, but I didn't know if you monitored, all the bid process and all the contracts and all that jazz, or whether that was just kind of up to the department.
And that it's kind of both. The department should do their thing. They should report back to us, and that's part of what should be included in the final report too. Like so
Okay.
much money was given, you know, during the seal coating was hired for this and this and this, and you know, it should be part of the final report that we're cracking down on now too. For years, they weren't required, but now we want them just as backup and for the townspeople to see, because we'll put them up on the CPC webpage. You know, that this is the final report on pickleball courts or digitization at the library. So we're cracking down on those things now to make sure we get them, but I'll try to come up with a contract for that.
Yeah, then I can get it to Jay, because I know Jimmy Campbell's hot to trot on trying to get some sort of restitution. I think that's what I was looking for.
Right, restitution, yeah.
So, but
Okay,
you know, he was telling me, he's like, I can't believe we don't have a contract. There's no I said, I don't know. I wasn't even, I was at the golf course still. I don't know anything about where these contracts are. So,
Mhm.
I guess
Yep.
that's what they want to try to find. I don't know.
Okay, I'll try to track something down. Tommy just wrote that he's trying to get back on too.
I saw that. I
Um,
saw that.
okay.
Do I hear a
we
motion?
can-
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Well, let's see if Tommy gets back on. It
I've
says
got
we-
You could text him and ask him if he seconds it.
Oh, wait a minute, I just admitted him.
There he
I
is.
didn't, I forgot that I wasn't there. Just real quickly, Mike, thanks Tommy for coming back.
Oh, my,
Mike, I know
my
you
phone
have
was
to
dead.
get off- You have
That's what we
to get off
figured.
soon. But just a couple things, if I can address, Mr. Chairman,
Quickly,
before
I've
we-
got to get up at 4:00.
I
please.
know, quickly. There's a subcommittee group set up for the mobile station. I think Jim Small is on, but he can update us on that at the next meeting. I think we really have to push the meeting with Jason Rollins. I don't know if any of you caught the council meeting a couple weeks
No.
ago that David Moore spoke about the historical commission. How they feel like stepchildren of the town. They're not involved. He's looking at changing the status, the charter status. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but the status right now, we're advisory. They are too. I think we should follow the same route they're going and change the status, but we can talk about that more. The last
right.
thing is Brooks' position. They've
Ashley,
funded
sorry.
it. They've put the money into the budget, right, Jim?
Yeah, that's in the
Supposedly.
budget. Yep.
Yep. Now we just have to push them to hire somebody. Brooke is still doing everything. And I've told her to make sure she puts in for her hours. So Jim, if you can follow up with that, she wasn't sure if they'd still pay her, was she officially retired? But I think when
I'll
she's
put her-
still doing the work, my
She's still
thought
on the
is we should
payroll.
pay her for it.
She's still on the payroll. So
Oh,
and
good.
she texted me this afternoon, and I wish she would have, you know how it is. It's I put in my payroll on Tuesday morning, so usually, but I did it. I just did it this afternoon already, of course.
Okay,
So I
good.
told her I'll put her in for next week, and she's still on the payroll, so I don't see why they won't
Great.
pay her.
Great. Okay,
You know,
hey, Mike,
and I
was
don't
I
have
quick
anything
enough?
yet, so.
Quick enough,
Mhm.
Gina, thank you.
All right, hey, guys, well, okay, well, hey, Smalley, I'm gonna plan going with you and John one day. I wanna go and see the Wyman Meadow. When I was a kid, I was out there. I haven't been out there for a long 100 years.
That's where
When
I
did
heard
you
you
go
used to
on
take
the-
all your old girlfriends.
Can you go on the 14th when they have that neighborhood thing? I'm
Yeah,
gonna
maybe
try
I'll
to
do
go
the
that.
14th. Yeah.
Right.
14, but I'd like to go see the other one too. He talks so highly of
Styles and
the
Hart.
Mansfield's
Styles and Hart.
Styles and Hart.
Yeah, I'll walk that one with you too. When you go, let me know.
All right,
It's gonna be nice.
road trip.
Yep,
Okay,
All
do I
okay.
I have a
Guys.
motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second it, second it?
Yep.
Yep.
Good night. Get up early.
Okay,
Mike,
all in
tomorrow.
favor? Yep.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Yes, aye.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Okay,
night.
All
thank
right.
you, everybody. Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Ugh.
Oh.